Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Race Course, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Good morning. Welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Big day yesterday. We'll recap some of that stakes action from Saturday. Churchill had a big day. Laurel had a big day. Woodbine had a big day. So there was action all over the place yesterday. We'll recap that this morning. It is a gorgeous Saratoga early summer morning up here. Sunny. Temperatures are very comfortable. Knock wood, this holds out through the week. And we kick into action midweek here at Saratoga with more Belmont at Saratoga action. So looking forward to that. Doing some shakeout shows here this weekend to kick things off, and then off and running as we get a little bit later in the week. Again, we'll be Belmont at Saratoga this July 4th weekend. And then shortly after that, week away, it kicks off the traditional week. So should be a lot of fun. Certainly looking forward to it. Last day downstate today, so keep that in mind. If you're playing a little New York, last time you'll see Aqueduct until the fall. Also, closing day at Laurel. So there's mandatories at Laurel today in the various wagers. Keep that in mind. But more importantly, perhaps it's closing day at Churchill Downs, and they have that rainbow, which will have a mandatory pay at $1.4 million. So take your shot. It's a 20-cent increment, and get in on the action today at Churchill because it's $1.4 million. It will balloon up significantly, believe me. It'll be worth taking a shot. Again, for 20 cents, you can put together kind of a fun little ticket at a reasonable amount of money. So keep that in mind for this afternoon. All right, let's jump into it with the action from yesterday. And as I say, it was a big day down at, and I meant to check. Let me just see if I can do that quickly because I had not seen buyer numbers anywhere, and I was looking this morning and so I wanted to, before I jumped on, I meant to recheck some of the logicals that will typically post buyer numbers and see if they were posted, because I am curious to see what some of the numbers for these winners are as we head into the summer and try to figure out which venues they may move to next. I think right here, for a lot of the horses we're going to look at, is logical with races like, the Whitney and the Personal Ensign and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I seem to be stuck. So we'll just wait on that and see if that comes up. And in the meantime, we will shift over to the action from yesterday. The highlight was obviously at Churchill, the Grade 1 Stephen Foster, $1 million up for grabs. And it was a really nice field. A very nice field. Skippy Longstocking scratch. And I liked Skippy Longstocking in there. I think, consistent $3 million earner. But Savvy Joseph kind of indicated in a post-race comment that I read that he was kind of entered to see what was what they might have a shot at. Once again, some of the just checking. I don't see anything there. Let me try another logical, perhaps, for some numbers. Well, there's a couple I'll give you. So Skippy Longstocking was out, but you had First Mission, Mindframe, Sierra Leone, Mystic Dan, Hit Show. It was a nice lineup. I put Sierra Leone on top. Not sure if there was going to be enough pace to shoot at, and that's kind of the way it played out. With Mindframe, you'll see here, getting the jump at the top of the stretch. Mindframe, Pletcher and Rapoli and Company, Irad Ortiz on board. And again, Mindframe will be the number 2 horse, gets the jump at the top of the stretch, and Sierra Leone is the number 4, and makes a nice run late. It's just too late. The pace had to set up for him. You can see with those fractions, 47, 111, they weren't blazing. So it was a nice late run given the scenario. With what the chart margin winds up to be a length between Mindframe and Sierra Leone. First Mission, 3rd. Mystic Dan, who got the corner and looked good coming up the inside, just could do no better than 4th. But it was Mindframe who stamps himself as a player. And again, I continue to say what's shaping up to be a nice handicap division this year. Mindframe came in with a win in the Gulfstream Park Mile in March to start the 4-year-old season. And that's after a layout. Wound up the 3-year-old season in the Haskell. Won the first 2 starts of the career, then second in the Belmont, second in the Haskell, and then goes to the sidelines. So a long layoff from July of last year to March of this year. Wins the Gulfstream Park Mile, wins the Churchill Downs on Derby weekend, and now adds the Stephen Foster. So Mindframe steps in solidly into a situation of a player in that handicap division. And as they say, it did have a couple of numbers, and one of them was a 103 for Mindframe. So again, gets back to a triple-digit buyer. Second in the Belmont and the Haskell, both of those races were triple digits. The first couple of starts of this year were mid-90s, decent numbers, but gets back to a triple digit with a 103 in the Stephen Foster on Saturday afternoon. So, and again, Mindframe, Sierra Leone, a decent effort, given the scenario there. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be interesting to see where, the various connections think about going next. All right, and also yesterday, and just looking, did I do my pages? We will watch Brilliant Birdie get it done in the American Derby. That subdivision I like quite a bit. It is the 3-year-olds on the turf, and Brilliant Birdie is the number 7 horse here. Yeah, there we go. Oh, okay. I that was the American Derby with Minaret Station getting it done. That's why I was looking at the numbers. I typically work backwards. The American Derby was the race after the Stephen Foster. So again, that was Minaret Station. And again, Reagan's Wit, who I liked, scratched. Cherie DeVoe wasn't thrilled with the surface for this horse. She did well with other horses on the surface, but wasn't thrilled with it for Reagan's Wit. So that was scratched. Flying Mohawk scratched. I thought was going to be a little bit interesting as well. Tistastic was in there, but Minaret Station got it done for Will Walden. Lately raced, but a couple of wins and 3 starts coming in, including a win in the Bourbon back in October of last year. That was the last start. So it comes back off a long layoff, puts in another stakes victory. So again, this in that subdivision I like quite a bit, given the scenario of this horse being as lightly raced as he is. Minaret Station going to be interesting to watch going forward. So again, that was the American Derby, one race after the Stephen Foster. Now we'll work our way backwards. The race just before the Stephen Foster was the Wise Dan, And that's the Brilliant Birdie race, and that's also the Cherie DeVoe. She was perfectly happy with the surface. For this one, just didn't think Reagan's Wit would handle it. Brilliant Birdie is going to be the number 7 horse here, getting it done under Brian Hernandez. I like Brilliant Birdie, put that one on top. And I thought you got a decent price, 2 to 1. You got $6.08. Running second is Taking Candy, another Cherie DeVoe runner. So it's a Cherie Exacta in there for $26 and change. But Brilliant Birdie, nice runner for Cherie DeVoe, Klein Racing. Came into it with 6 wins and 10 starts. Now 7 wins and 11 starts. Anytime you can hit the halfway mark of wins versus starts, you've got a pretty good horse. And you start to get over that. Very, very nice horse. Was coming out of a near miss in the Arlington behind Mercanti. Mercanti was an early scratch, though. So didn't have to face that one. 2 starts back, was a winner in the opening verse. So again, now as a 4-year-old, Brilliant Birdie continues to run very well after a solid 3-year-old season last year. Chart margin was 3/4 of a length, so Taking Candy ran well. That one was a nose in front of Laganos. So all 3 of those. But the one that obviously stands out is the winner, Brilliant Birdie, with, again, a record now of 7 wins in 10 career starts. A solid record to build on. And again, being a Cherie DeVoe runner, we'll see if that one winds up in our neck of the woods going forward. 9th race yesterday was the Kelly's Landing for 3-year-olds and up, sprinting 6.5. I went with Booth, and Booth early looked pretty good, pretty solid. Now, was getting pushed a little bit. The fractions were legit, 22 and change, 44 and change, 108 and change. That all led to Booth getting swapped a little bit late and running 4th as the second choice, actually. The favorite was Dr. Venkman, and Dr. Venkman ran very well, but winds up a little bit short. I had Booth on top. Roll on Big Joe, the 4, I had in the second slot, and Dr. Venkman 3rd, and it is Roll on Big Joe getting it done here, as I say, with a chart margin of 3/4 of a length over number 1, Venkman. Well, again, runs well, kind of searching for a spot, and Venkman finally finds a spot, but it winds up just to be a little too late as Roll on Big Joe went by Booth and got the jump on the other 2. Also, number 8, Durante ran very well, and I thought that horse might be a player in here also for David Jacobson coming out of a win in the Aristides. But it is Roll on Big Joe. First stakes victory. Tried Stakes Company last September out at Santa Anita. Since then has been bouncing around optional claimers. Oh, no, Bounce Birds, excuse me, which was in February out at Santa Anita. Won that one. So a couple of stakes on the resume, and did have a stakes win. Now pairs it up a little bit later on. So Roll on Big Joe. Interesting player. Now on the sprint scene, perhaps. Booth running 4th was a little bit disappointing. I would expect, being an Asmussen horse, we'll potentially see Booth up here taking a shot. And Dr. Venkman. Dr. Venkman is a Southern California-based runner, so I would expect probably that one goes back to Del Mar moving forward. So that was, again, the Kelly's Landing. Also on the card yesterday, the Tepin. They're on the grass for the 3-year-old fillies. Again, earlier we saw the 3-year-old boys. Betting public liked Lush Lips slightly over Vixen. I had them switched. I thought Vixen ran well. Lush Lips just ran better. Lush Lips is going to be the winner here for Brendan Walsh, the number 5 horse. Princess Attitude runs 2nd, and Vixen runs 3rd. Vixen, Marquesi runner, who had been behind the other nice Marquesi runner, Nitrogen. And I thought off of those, Vixen was going to be a little bit interesting. And you can see the 6 horse Vixen kind of gets it going, but just, you can tell, was going to be too late regardless. It does wind up 3rd. But Lush Lips just kind of runs away and hides from this group. Chart margin winds up to be almost 4 lengths. Betting public had it right at $5 and change. Lush Lips now 8 starts, 3 wins, 3 seconds. Started the career over in Europe. Since arriving in the United States, a solid 3 for 5 with a couple of seconds. So it seems to appreciate the move over stateside. And again, Brendan Walsh runner. Potentially we see Lush Lips up here. Certainly Vixen. Well, Vixen, you would think maybe they're trying to keep that one separated from Nitrogen. So we'll see. But I thought Lush Lips clearly the best in here. And Vixen ran okay. As I say, there was points in the stretch. Being that it was my top pick, I was going to focus. And you thought, get that momentum and would be okay. Just never get it going enough to, certainly threaten the winner. And the third was maybe a touch disappointing as well, given I thought the horse ran decently and just could not get that extra step in the stretch. And finally, one of the more anticipated races, obviously the Stephen Foster was the highlight, but one of the more anticipated races yesterday at Churchill was the Florida League. Short field in here. It was only a field of 5, but it was Torpedo Anna. Went off at 35 cents to the dollar, and off of the dud last time in the La Troyenne. She had won the Azeri won the Apple Blossom. The numbers people pointed to, the numbers were a little bit light, but they were right in her wheelhouse for what she typically does, mid-90s. Last year, she had a couple of triple-digit numbers, the 111 running second in the Travers and the 100 winning easily the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So she has popped triple-digit numbers, but as I said, typically she's in the mid-90s. So the Azeri and the Apple Blossom, I thought were right in her wheelhouse, and she stayed in her wheelhouse yesterday. Getting it done. Nice call by Crown the Stone, kind of commenting, she's not back. She's always been there. 94 buyer this win, as she's getting a challenge in here from Royal Spa, the number 1 horse, but pulls away pretty easily late. She wins by a chart margin of 3 lengths. Brian Hernandez was on board. Ken McPeak afterwards was saying, maybe the boys in the Breeders' Cup Classic, but it sounded like over the summer the next spots will be in her own division, and I would think that would include potentially up here, personal incident or whatnot. So we'll see going forward for Torpedo Anna. But everybody was kind of scratching their chin after the Florida League, given that, coming into that, she had never been worse than second. 12 starts, 10 wins, 2 seconds. Coming into the Florida League, first time running off the board like that out of the exacta, and then gets back on track pretty successfully yesterday again for the league. So, with as I say, a 94 buyer for Torpedo Anna. So that was nice to see that she got back, because she is clearly a fan favorite. Given what she did last year. And, you'd like that to continue. When you get horses like that people get hooked on, you hope you can get a couple of seasons out of a runner like that. And so to see her get back into form, it's good news for everybody, for the connections, obviously, but just for the racing game to have a horse like that out there and running well. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we will shift our attention to a little Belmont. We have a little Woodbine. We have some Laurel. Again, big days all around yesterday. So stay tuned.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops, my bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back. We are live from Saratoga, our Clare Court set on, again, a gorgeous Sunday morning up here. Sunny, temperature's great. Still kind of quiet. I said yesterday, when I first got here yesterday, there was a little bit of activity, but not like there is normally. And again, we'll get to that as we get to midweek up here. And certainly by the time we come back here to do our next television, there will be a little more activity. I also saw them harrowing yesterday. Clare Court behind us, so I'd expect some activity back there as we move forward. But as I say, it is a gorgeous morning up here in Saratoga. All right, New York yesterday, they featured the Ashley T. Cole State Breds going 6 on the grass. And again, short field in here of 5. I like Senbei, and it will be Senbei getting it done. This one goes out for Dean Reeves and company, Miguel Clement, trainer. Nice career for this one. 20 start going into yesterday. 20 starts, 7 wins, couple seconds, and a third. Well over $600,000 going into the race yesterday. Given the person whatnot, yeah, it bounces over $700,000. Senbei's the number 5 horse, and I love the gutty stretch run because it did look like potentially Bold Journey to 3 had a little momentum. Number 2 is Run Curtis Run running third. But even though Bold Journey, again, had a little bit of momentum, it seemed like Senbei kind of dug down and held off. The chart margins half a length there. Manny Franco on board, went off as the close-up favorite. Senbei took action at 7-5, and at 3-2, 26 Black was the close-up second choice. That one ran 4th in there. I had those two 1-2. Senbei on top of 26 Black did look like the second choice, but as I say, could do no better than 4th, but a solid run for Senbei. And again, I always like to anticipate, potentially see horses up here, and I would think that is definitely a possibility, being a Dean Reeves' own horse, Miguel Clement training. We'll see if Senbei makes it up here, but off of that, could come in good form, certainly. Also yesterday, as mentioned, it was a nice day at Woodbine. Lots of stakes action up there and some notable names participating. We'll kick things off in the Marine. 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16. And typically you can get some horses coming out of this that will Queens Plate it if they're eligible. And I'm just looking. We do have a couple of Ontario breds, 3, 4. Yeah, so there are horses here, 5. So there are definitely horses here that can move on to the King's Plate. And one of those would be an Ontario bred in Manzetti for Kevin Attard. Third start of the season, won the seasonal debut in the Woodstock, and then ran kind of a disappointing 5th in the Queenston, but had some trouble there. Those were 6 furlongs and 7 furlongs. I love third start back in a stretch out, and that's what you got yesterday for Manzetti, stretching to the mile and 16th. And the third start back, and Manzetti does get it done at a generous, as I say, I love the angle. The career or the seasonal debut was very good. Third start back, you got $12 and change on this horse. So Manzetti wins. Scorching runs second. Megalodon runs third in there, but Kevin Attard getting it done with Manzetti. And I didn't hear any follow-up, but again, I would expect, it's a new schedule now. King's Plate in August, so there's still a little time. But I would expect off a performance like that, Manzetti is likely to head towards the King's Plate and take a shot in there. Good looking season so far. Again, there was a win to start, then a win yesterday in the 3 starts. They booked in a little bit less of a performance, but had some trouble there. So the 2 starts without trouble were pretty good. And Manzetti solidly in, you would think, the King's Plate conversation. The Celine yesterday for the 3-year-old fillies at a mile and a 16. It's going to be Josie Carroll with a lately raced horse that had been in the Brad Cox barn. It's owned in part by L&J Foxwoods, and they played a little more over the past few seasons up at Woodbine, but they're prominent owners. And so this one was at Gulfstream earlier this year on the turf and won the career debut. And then in an off-the-turf for Belmont at Aqueduct was a close-up second, trying non-winners and won. So third career start. They get to the synthetic, and new barn, Josie Carroll, she does great work, and she's having a really good meet up there at this point. And Serendipity gets it done pretty nicely in here. Serendipity is going to be number 5 horse, and again, very lightly raced. Third career start, and the stakes debut. Start margin's going to wind up to be 2.5 lengths. Tis Her Money, the number 2 for Mark Cassie, runs second. Nice price there as well. This one coming off a win on the move back up to Woodbine for Mark Cassie last time. And, not threatening the winner, but well clear of the second place horse. So Tis Her Money, interesting. And then something about her in the third spot for Brendan Walsh. Again, Brendan Walsh, typically, a guy who's running down here. But this horse has made a couple of starts up at Woodbine prior to yesterday. Won the Mazarine last year, and then was in a stake back in the middle of May and was a close-up second. So something about her. Again, they're kind of picking their spots there. Spent the winter on the synthetic at Turfway, so it might be one of those where they just feel, we have a nice synthetic horse. Let's take our shot, because Brendan Walsh is the guy who normally is heading up to Woodbine very often. But if you got a horse that's running on the synthetic and they're putting up 150K, why not take your shot? You get a decent little third for that one. Well back of the winner and well back of the second place horse, but clear of the fourth place horse. So all three of the top runners ran well, but clearly Serendipity ran best in there, and being a very lightly raced 3-year-old filly with a couple of wins bookending a second place finish, I would think she has a nice future for Josie Carroll now. Did want to show one more from Woodbine, the Highlander, 6 furlongs on the grass. And last fall we were up at Woodbine, as we typically are, right after the Saratoga meet. We go up for one of their big days in September, and one of the horses we saw win that day, win the Vigil, was Patches O'Houlihan, who went on to win year-end honors with their version of the Eclipse Awards, the Sovereign Awards. Robert Tiller trained. We had talked to Robert Tiller on the backstretch prior. He's always a great interview. He's a character. After the race, got a chance to talk to Sophia Vivas. Never had to interview her before. Had a nice little conversation with her. But she's the regular rider of Patches O'Houlihan. Had that win on the Vigil and subsequently won the Arctic, close-up second in the Kennedy Road to wrap up last year, and came back this year early in May and won the Thorncliffe. And it will be Patches O'Houlihan, the number 5 horse, getting it done yesterday in the Highlander up at Woodbine. My Boy Prince for Mark Cassie runs second. My Boy Prince was a nice 3-year-old last year. Won the plate trial, ran a close second in the King's Plate. So had shown some ability. This year had a couple of starts in New York. And again, the second place finisher, My Boy Prince, won the Lucid Quality second in the Jaipur. So nice run for My Boy Prince. But a nice win for Patches O'Houlihan. It kind of moves out in the stretch here, obviously, and just holds on. The chart margin winds up to be a net. My Boy Prince second, Dresden Rowe third. But again, winning over My Boy Prince, who's a quality runner, is a nice effort in there. But we already knew Patches O'Houlihan was a quality runner. This was career win number 13 and start number 16. Patches O'Houlihan, very, very talented. Now, I will note Ron Gierkink from the Racing Forum tweeted out, and I didn't see a follow-up this morning, but he tweeted out that Patches O'Houlihan was vanned off after the win, and the run in the stretch fading out. So we'll hope for the best there. As I say, I have not seen a follow-up, but again, hope for a good outcome with that situation with Patches O'Houlihan yesterday. And finally didn't call for a replay, but in the Dominion Day, it was fantastic again, getting it done for Wesley Ward in the Dominion Day yesterday. Stanley House second, Bayless out running third, but Wesley Ward pops up to Woodbine. Last start for fantastic again was the Keeneland in April. Pops up to Woodbine and gets it done in the Dominion Day. So there were your results. Some of your results from stakes action yesterday on a nice stakes afternoon up in Woodbine. Some news came out on Woodbine also that was kind of interesting. It sounds like they're going to do there's a lot of property involved with Woodbine and the area surrounding it. It sounds like they're going to do I was going to say redevelopment. I think just a development that will have housing and retail and whatnot, and use the track kind of as an anchor. So the article I read yesterday sounded very positive as compared to the development they want to do down at Gulfstream, which is like, maybe we don't want the track. This sounds like they're using the track as kind of the anchor to build around and focus on, and you would think that would be good long-term up there for racing, but we'll learn more about that going ahead. All right, down at Laurel yesterday also, very, very nice stakes action. And this one was kind of interesting. Kicked off the stakes action with the deputed testimony, mile and an eighth for the 3-year-olds and up. And Post Time was in there, who was the nice runner based, down in the Mid-Atlantic for trainer Brittany Russell, a high percentage trainer down in the Maryland area. But she now bounces around a lot, and she just bounced around a lot with Post Time. Post Time is one of those horses she got in the barn, Maryland bred, but too good to really just stay on the Maryland circuit. So, for instance, Post Time second in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile last year, followed that up with a third in the Cigar Mile, came back this year to win very easily in the seasonal debut, an optional claimer down at Laurel, and then tried to blame at Churchill, finished behind Mystic Dan and Antiquarian, a couple nice horses. But you look down the resume, Post Time third in the Whitney, second in the Met Mile last year, won the Carter. So this is a bona fide runner for Brittany Russell. And, hey, they're putting up $125,000 in their backyard. Why not take a shot? And why not the betting public saying 10 cents on the dollar? We'll jump on Post Time. Post Time with trainer Brittany Russell's husband, Sheldon Russell, on board. Post Time gets it done, the number 3 horse in here. And it looks like it's going to be a challenge here. Not really a challenge once it gets set down. Chart margins 3.5 lengths. So it was a pretty easy win for Post Time at $2.20. Officially cool second. Speediness was a nice horse. Runs third in there for Jamie Ness. But again, sometimes the calendar, there's nothing else particularly out there. And as I say, in the backyard, they're tossing up $125K. Why not take your shot? And Post Time did, as I say, last year tried the Whitney. I wouldn't be shocked to see. Last year ran in the Met Mile on June 8th up here and ran second. So now we're a few weeks later, and the race down at Laurel. But again, it wouldn't shock me to see potentially another try in the Whitney. Just a nice horse. I hope they do come up because it's a fun horse to root for. Again, coming up from the Maryland circuit and being a Maryland bred. So Post Time, nice win yesterday down at Laurel. In the Alma North, this one $125,000. Fillies and Mares, 3-year-olds up 26.5. This one will be St. Benedict's Prep. Another nice horse. This is a Linda Rice runner, based in New York. It ran Belmont Stakes Week up here at Saratoga in the Bed of Roses, and you would have to say it dud, but was behind Ways and Means and Scylla in there. That was a salty field. Gets this group down at Laurel on yesterday, and St. Benedict's Prep gets back to her winning ways. 26 starts, 7 wins. Chart march is going to be a couple lengths as the 6-5 favorite. Alani runs second. Easy Red runs third in here. But a nice win for St. Benedict's Prep. I'm just looking because she has tried Laurel before. Barbara Fritchie last year second, and then What a Summer second. Yeah, so Fritchie actually third, excuse me, and then the What a Summer second. So had hit the board but didn't have a win in a couple of starts at Laurel and Stake section prior, but gets the win yesterday. And again, the short field of 5 in there, and St. Benedict's Prep did take the action as the 6-5 favorite and got it done for Linda Rice on the ship down from New York. Also yesterday, the Prince George's County, $125,000. This time they're on the grass. It will be another fun horse throughout the career. Wolfie's Dynagos going up for Jonathan Thomas. Had a layoff from March of last year until June 1st. That race last year in March was not much, and the comebacker wasn't much. So 10-1 on the morning line, went down to 6-1 in the wagering, and Wolfie's Dynagos gets it done. So it's nice to see this one bounce back. Just as I said, throughout the career, this horse has been fun. Coming into yesterday, 27 starts, 10 wins, couple seconds, 5 thirds. This is another horse that has bounced around in stakes company around the country. Had won the Prairie Bayou at Turfway, had won the Autumn up at Woodbine, for instance, and then gets back to his winning ways as a 7-year-old here. Again, having not started more than a couple times going back to the end of 2023. So it's nice to see this one bounce back, and bounce back pretty convincingly. Chart margin there's over 4 lengths. Again, 6-1, you got $14 and change. Crystal Quest second, and Trickery or Tricari running third for Graham Motion. And no surprise, that one went up as the 4-5 favorite. John Velasquez in town on board. Trickery or Tricari. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I gotta get the scoop there. Maybe ask Graham Motion what the owners are going, and I think he has said at some point. I'll have to look up and see if I can find the quote. But that one had shown some talent earlier in the career. First couple of starts of this year weren't quite as inspiring, and kind of followed that up with third place finish yesterday. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that one bounce back to some better performances as we go forward. Because again, there's some talent there for Trickery or Tricari. But Wolfie's Dynagos, again, fun to see that one get back in the thick of things. And finally, also yesterday, the DeFrancis Dash, $175,000 up for grabs. This is one of those races. It's just it used to be a nice graded stakes race. It had a nice field yesterday. I don't know if you'd call it super graded level stakes quality. Yeah, grade 3 maybe. But it's sad to see this one not graded anymore. They have a legitimate purse, $175,000. And as I say, it was a nice field entered. It's scratched down, though, unfortunately, to a field of only 4. Subrogate getting it done. Subrogate had come in off a seasonal debut at Monmouth in the Mr. Prospector running second. So follows that up nicely here on the move down to Laurel to get it done. Running second is Celtic Contender. Running third is Caramel Chip. But it is Subrogate, a horse. Yeah, plenty of talent here. Coming into the race, 9 starts, 4 wins, couple seconds. So now has won half the starts, 5 wins in 10 career starts. And as I said earlier, you have a runner that can win half of the time. You are definitely looking at a very talented runner. And this one fits the bill there. Subrogate getting it done yesterday in the Francis Dash. As I say, kind of a scratch reduced race. Also a short field, but worth taking a look. The Los Al Derby, racing in Southern California, is at Los Alamitos currently. And so the Los Al Derby, a race Bob Baffert has won a number of times. And yesterday, after scratches, he was left with 2 of the 4, and he gets the exacta. Los Al Derby, it's going to be number 5, Nevada Beach, third start of the career, won the debut, ran second subsequently behind Gaming in the Affirmed at Santa Anita. Now comes over to Los Alamitos, easy 2-5 winner in the Los Al Derby, Nevada Beach. Varney runs second, another Baffert horse. This one had broken the maiden Creek this weekend at Pimlico, comes back to Southern California, runs second. But Nevada Beach by Omaha Beach, and now in a couple of stakes, close up second to Gaming, and a nice win yesterday in the Los Al Derby. And I was listening to a post-race interview and mentioned the Travers. We'll see. This was a pretty lightly raced to head to the Travers. And there's room in between for something else, perhaps. We'll see where they go. But Bob Baffert did toss out Travers. So we'll see how that all shakes out. So again, nice stakes day yesterday. A very nice stakes day yesterday. Really right across the country. And again, I would think a number of these horses that won or ran well will be right up here within the next few weeks, over the next couple of months. So we'll keep our eyes open up there. All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, again, we had that nice carryover in the Pick Six at Churchill. Closing day, mandatory pay. They will shovel in the money. So maybe we'll take a look and just kind of quickly go through the sequence and toss out some ideas out of Churchill for this Sunday afternoon. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer: wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at CapitalOTB.com.
Welcome back. Yeah, reminder, it's closing day at Laurel. That means mandatory pays there, but more importantly, with the carryover, a mandatory pay closing day at Churchill with $1.4 million in their Pick Six carryover. So that will balloon up significantly. And again, let's just take a quick run through the sequence today. It's an 11-race card, so the Pick Six down at Churchill will kick off in race number 6. That'll go off at about 3:15. And again, it's a 20-cent increment, so you can put together a nice ticket for a very reasonable amount of money. So take a look and see if maybe you can put something together to have a little fun this afternoon. 6th race, the kickoff leg, stakes action. The Bashford Manor, 2-year-olds going 6. I'm 6-1, 4, and 5. Saul Elliott, Doug O'Neill runner, comes in from Southern California. And again, Southern California is such an island. And, you know, Derby time, their 3-year-olds do well. And I think situations like this, because they're such an island, the talent gets concentrated at Santa Anita or at Belmont. Whereas the East Coast, you know, if you have a good horse, you can kind of search around and maybe find some spots. And, you know, the talent is a little more diversified. So Southern California runners who go well always attract my attention. This horse went well in the career debut. Now, it was a Calbred, state-bred stakes race. You have to take that into account. But it was a pretty good-looking performance. It was a solid number for a 2-year-old this time of year. So I'll put Saul Elliott on top. Spice Runner, I think, is a player as well. Steve Asmussen, trainee from Winchell. Gun Runner, no surprise there. Was pretty good looking in the debut effort at a short price. And then Romeo debuted at Laurel and won the debut very nicely. And then they tried the Tremont and we had an okay third. Well, beaten third. We had third. It was only a field of 5. But now they come down and tried this. So there is some stakes experience on the resume, which makes that one a little bit interesting. So again, in the 6th at Churchill, the Bashford Manor, kicking off the pick 6, 6-1, 4 and 5. And, if I'm trying to put together a reasonable ticket, then maybe the 6 and the 1 in here. Comport, I didn't mention that one. The Eddie Keneally runner will have down the 4th spot, also coming off a maiden breaker in the debut. And with a number that's a little bit better than Spice Runner. So that was a little bit dangerous also. In the 7th race, again, more stakes action. This one for the 2-year-old fillies, the debutante. I have a 3, 5, 1, and 6 in race number 7 at Churchill. Light 1 up. Again, comes in from Southern California for Doug O'Neill off a debut maiden victory. With, again, a number that's pretty good relative to 2-year-olds at this time of year. So I'll tilt in that direction. Jabos in the 2nd spot. Broke the maiden in the career debut right here at Churchill and in a decent little performance. But I will note it was a maiden claimer. So, but it's 20-1 on the morning line. And I think, given the situation, we'll get that. They're all 2-year-olds. We don't know. Sometimes you have a horse that's better than you think. You drop it in that debut in the maiden claimer, and then you kind of get a big performance. It's like, wow, we underestimated a little bit. So we'll see. But at a price, I thought that one was interesting. And I would certainly have that on my pick 6 ticket because if we wind up with a price, that'll help us grab some of that $3 or $4 million pool, whatever will eventually hit, we think. Essential Coffee, debut winner for Steve Asmussen. Well, debut under the line first for Steve Asmussen, subsequently disqualified, but off of that effort is very playable. Mind Strike, I think, is also interesting off a debut victory. This one's kind of salty, and I think you can look at a few others in here. Again, with only one start, and with oftentimes improvements start 1 to start 2, just kind of don't know who may step up to the plate and make it very interesting in here. But for me, in the 7th at Churchill, a debutante, 3, 5, 1, and 6. And I'd probably go 3, 5, 1 here in that one. More stakes action. Race number 8, the Hanshin. 4-year-olds and up going a 1-turn mile. 4, 1, 2, and 7. Get before Saudi Crown on top. This one might be a single. Comes off the nice win down at Oak Lawn in stakes action towards the end of their season. A couple triple-digit buyers coming in. Vanishing, however, is dangerous. But for a horse to put together a nice string of triple digits down at Oak Lawn this winter, since arriving in Churchill, hasn't gotten to that number. So we'll see. Judge Miller may be a little bit interesting if you want an alternative at a little bit of a price. I think that one could knock heads with the top 2. We'll take it at 10-1 on the morning line for Dallas Stewart. Dallas Stewart tends to surprise in races like this. But it seems like, as they say, Saudi Crown, maybe you can take a little pop with that one as a single. The pace in here, there are a couple others that can show some speed, but they're not bona fide front-end types. And so Saudi Crown might be in a good spot here, particularly at this 1-turn mile. So in the 8th at Churchill, I have it 4, 1, 2, and 7. The Anchorage Overnight Stakes in race number 9, mile and 1/8 on the turf down at Churchill, 3, 8, 7, and 4. Duvet Day on top. Comes in off a seasonal debut that was a little bit questionable, but I think the horse is likely better than that and will benefit from the start under the belt. So I'll use this one with some trepidation. This is a race where it becomes a little more dicey. Charlene's Dream, a lot of early speed, nice win on the front end, 2 back on Preakness weekend at Pimlico to get the season started. Followed it up in the Mint Julep and ran a close-up second after having led, faded a little bit, faded behind Pinup Betty, who I have in the 3rd spot, also 3rd start of the season, off a nice second in a stake to debut, seasonal debut, followed it up with a win in the Mint Julep. So, again, I'm using Do That Day, and that one I'm kind of looking in the crystal ball a little bit and hoping for an improved effort with the fitness in the gained in the first start of the season. Pinup Betty and Charlene's Dream are maybe a little more likely, and I think pretty close talent-wise. So I'll probably have to use all of those 3 if we put together a pick 6 ticket in the 9th at Churchill, 3, 8, 7, and 4. 10th race, Churchill Downs. The Maxfield, $250,000, 7 furlongs is the trip. I have it 10, 13, 5, and 2. Going to put Verifier on top. 2 for 2 for Brad Cox. A couple of 6 furlong trips. One in March at that Colonial meet, the Virginia Derby, little short meet. And then Pimlico on Preakness weekend. Both of those were 6 furlongs, now stretches out to 7 in the 3rd start of the season. I like all of that, and what we've seen so far has been very good. Second spot, Furio going out for Joe Sharp, who's having a very good Churchill meet, vying for the title down there. I didn't look up the stats coming into today, but I mean, see how it plays out on the trainer side of things. Nice win last time at Churchill. Got up by a gutsy nose with a solid number. And then in the 3rd spot, Retribution, Cherie DeVoe, who's just going very well wherever, comes in with a horse. A couple of wins, bookending a 3rd place finish. The most recent win was a stakes win, Chick Lang, at Pimlico on Preakness weekend. So all 3 of those are interesting. Captain Cook, obviously, for Rick Dutrow, comes in off a 3rd in the Peter Pan, but had won the Withers earlier this season, has been favored since the career debut, 5 starts overall. Career debut, not favored in the 4 starts since then. But again, a 3rd in the Peter Pan, a 4th in the Wood Memorial after the Withers win. So Captain Cook is interesting as well in the Maxfield for the 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs. But again, Verifier to me is a potential very good one. We'll find out a little bit more about this one today, Frank Stakes Company, but they could have a good one here. John Stewart's Resolute Racing and Brad Cox paid $1 million for the horse, so we'll see more about, as I said, we'll verify perhaps a Verifier as a player in that, at least the 3-year-old sprint division, because that's all he's done so far, but we'll see what they decide going forward. But we'll get, as I say, more of a barometer overall today. The 10th at Churchill, 10, 13, 5, and 2. And we wrap it up in the 11th at Churchill. Wrap it up for a Sunday. Wrap it up for this meet. Maiden specials going a mile and 1/8 on the grass. The 11th at Churchill. 4, 5, 10, and 11. Maserat on top for Brendan Walsh. Again, these are maidens. Everyone I've used has a little bit of experience. There are more lightly raced runners. There's one first-time starter. So again, first-time starter, lightly raced runners, you don't know. At any moment, if we're talking 2nd start, 3rd start, 4th start, the light bulb can just go on. Maserat has had 6 tries, hasn't gotten it done, but I thought was a little bit interesting in here for Brendan Walsh. Irod Ortiz is on board. That attracted my attention. Good game for Rudy Brissett. Comes in off a couple of tries on the turf most recently that stack up very well with the top pick. Straightforward. Steve Asmussen, Flavian Prat. again, there's just enough there to kind of put that one in the mix. And Miss Farrow of a nice second place finish last time. I will say, if you get to this leg, good luck. I'm using those 4 without a lot of confidence. I could point to another 4 or 5 probably and make a little bit of a case there, similar to what I've talked about with the ones I have in the mix. So it's a very tough way to wind up the sequence. It's going to be an interesting run here. But for me, in the 11th at Churchill, 4, 5, 10, and 11. And again, take your shot today. Pick 6 down at Churchill. Mandatory pay on closing day. 1.4 million as the carryover. That will go up substantially. So 20-cent increment. You can put together a nice little ticket. Take your pop today at Churchill. All right, I'm going to wind it up for our weekend, a little weekend shakeout here up at Saratoga. And I'm going to tell Dino, press the iris button on that. I want to see what happens here. I'm doing a little technical on the fly here live. We shall see what happens. But I'm going to wrap up the show here. There we go. That is much better. All right, that's what I thought. Okay. All right, we'll wrap it up for a Sunday morning, but we'll be back in a few days. Middle of the week, we will kick things off for the Belmont at Saratoga 4th of July weekend. It should be a lot of fun. Don't forget, $1 hot dogs. I believe it's all week long. So if you like hot dogs, come on up to the track and enjoy it. But there's going to be great racing up here as well. If you can't make it up, obviously, swing by the Clubhouse Racebook and enjoy action there, or stay at home, tune in the network, play on your computer. There are various options, but boy, if the weather holds up like this over the next week, let's keep our fingers crossed. It is going to be a great week ahead here as we have the little Belmont at Saratoga meet, and then again, about a week and a half away, traditional Saratoga getting ready to kick off. It's been fun here from our clear court set. It's always fun up here. Hopefully you've enjoyed the last couple of days. And again, we'll be back in midweek to kick things off. Anthony Mormino and I handicap to support 10 a.m. Racing Across America as usual. Spread the word to your friends and family. I talk to people all the time who are various parts of the country. Don't forget, you can watch on YouTube. The morning programming is live every morning on our YouTube channel. If you miss a show, you can catch the replay on YouTube as well, so keep that in mind. All right. Again, thanks to the guys up here, Anthony and Dino, Dan down in the studio for the last couple of days. They will be doing yeoman's work throughout the run here when we kick in midweek. So appreciate their work and efforts, and appreciate your tuning in. We'll wrap it up now. Don't forget, great racing this afternoon, particularly that pick 6 at Churchill. So jump in and have fun. See you midweek.
You've been watching Racing Across America. Racing Across America has been brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.